Awesome. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. My name is Nina, and I work with the Tulane Alumni Career and Professional Development Office. And so I'm just going to do a quick, couple of housekeeping things before I hand things off to Hallie. This session is being recorded, and it will be uploaded to our YouTube channel. And we have over 80 past sessions recorded and uploaded there. So if you'd like to be notified when new sessions are uploaded, you can subscribe to our channel, and I'll drop the link for that in the chat in a second. But today's session is about how to get promoted in 2026. We have Hallie Crawford with us, who's run some past webinars for us, and all of her sessions are just so informative and so helpful, and so I'm really excited for this. If you have questions throughout, you can put them in the chat. We'll kind of circle back to them at the end. And if Hallie gets to them while we're doing that, that works as well. But if you also have a question that you don't want to put in the chat, you can send it directly to me. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and hand everything off to Hallie. But thank you so much, Hallie, and thank you everybody for being here. And I'll drop all those links and a little handout for you guys for this session in there in a second.
Thanks, Nina. Really appreciate it. And thank you all for being here today. We were talking before we were getting started, and I said to Nina, I'm like, I'm glad people are feeling like they can think about this year, which is fantastic. That means people are getting a little bit more optimistic for what that next step is. So we are going to discuss today different strategies to get promoted and start to demonstrate your leadership skills and strengths and kind of show your current employer. And in some cases, we realize it could be another employer, depending on your situation, that you are ready for this next step in your career. So I'm Hallie Crawford. Just really quick intro. I'm a certified career coach. I'm based in Atlanta, Georgia. We have coaches in different parts of the country. I've been coaching and training since 2002, and I'm still barely able to cover up the gray there. It's going to get harder as we go here. I turned 53 this year and love what I do. I'm really excited to be here with you all today. I've partnered with Tulane for years and years. We need to look up how long it's been. And I have an undergraduate degree from Vanderbilt University and a master's degree from the University of Illinois. And the advice we're going to give you today is advice that we give to all of our clients to help them think about the next step in their career progression, whether that's getting promoted where you are or doing something, getting promoted elsewhere, etc. We are always all about people being proactive versus reactive regarding their career. It's too easy to be reactive, just to kind of leave things in some cases on autopilot. And we want people to be always thinking ahead. So, really glad that you're here today for that. And as part of that, we want you to think about and take away at least one action step that you will commit to and write this down when you come to it and think of it during the course of today that makes the most sense for you in your situation because we want you to walk away with tangible, practical action steps. And as a reminder, you can pick one thing and then be present with our program today because we will give you the slides. There will be a QR code on the next slide here, and I'll put a link to the slides in the chat as well. And this meeting and session is being recorded too. So you can always listen to those later on if you'd like to. So, and I need to move this. Okay, sorry. My toolbar was going all over the place. So pick one thing that you can commit to in the next week, for example. And we'd love to see those shared in the chat box closer to the end of today, too. So here's our agenda for today. First of all, when you're thinking about your next steps career-wise and getting promoted, we want you to make sure you're really clear on what that looks like for you. What does the promotion look like outside of the job title, et cetera, and making sure that your targets are going to be aligned with what you really want from your career. It's going to be the right fit for you, all that other good stuff. So we're going to talk about that just for a minute at the very beginning today, because in order to get to the next step in your career, you need to make sure you've got really clear goals. The second thing we want to discuss today is how to, and making sure also that you address any obstacles to being successful and getting that promotion, that you address them up front. because you can have everything ready to go, like the right things to say, etc. But you're not going to get anywhere if, for example, you're not speaking confidently or you have imposter syndrome. So we always start with the obstacles first with our clients, not because we're negative Nellies, but because we want them to be able to take the advice and run with it, the advice that we give them versus still feeling stuck or lack of confidence or whatever it is. So we want you to start thinking about what some of your most common obstacles internally, but also externally may be that could get in the way of you getting a promotion. And that as part of this, on the other side of it, we actually want you to go into the conversation that you have regarding your promotion or the job interview, et cetera, with answers prepared to the reasons why they might not give it to you. And we want you to weave those into your conversation. So the obstacles are going to be internal to you, external to skill set, etc. But also what concerns might they have? Because we want you to address those in your conversation so that they can't even like come up with those obstacles, if you will. Then, as part of all of this throughout, we're going to be giving you 10 different ways and tips to help you get promoted, assess and address where you stand related to it, the action steps you need to take, etc. And as Nina said earlier, I will do Q&A at the end, but I am also happy to answer questions throughout. So do me a huge favor if you would, and make sure that you know where the chat is. I put a link to the slides in there. Let me know if that link doesn't work for any reason. The slides you can also grab from the QR code. But please feel free to ask any questions or make a comment as we progress today at any time. I love for these to be interactive, then we can learn from each other as well. So let's dive in and start first with making sure that your goal is clear. And I know this may seem like, well, Hallie, of course I know what my goal is. We're talking about getting promoted. But sometimes people will say, this is what I want. And when we ask them to clarify exactly what that looks like for them, they don't always know. So make sure a couple of things here when we look at this first slide that you're clear about what kind of promotion, what's the job title, what's the salary I might be going for? Is this going to be the right kind of like stage for me? Is this going to be the right work environment, the place for me to move forward or move up in the best way? And what we're asking for here with this slide is to ensure that your promotion and what you're going for, that it's going to check all of the boxes, that it's going to be fulfilling and rewarding to you. We've had people say, I don't want to be a manager because I don't want to manage people. Like, so again, you want to make sure that you're clear on what that looks like. Is it going to be the best use of, or how can you leverage your strengths? What's going to be interesting and appealing to you about this next step, and how do you remain challenged along the way? Experience and education, you want to make sure it's leveraging those in the right way for you. That being a leader or moving into this next step, you've got the personality traits to make that happen. And also, you're understanding what you bring to the table here, personality wise. And then work environment and compensation. So just make sure it checks all of the boxes in the right way based on what makes sense for you at this stage in your career. And we'd love to kind of get a pulse check with this first poll here. Where are you right now when it comes to your next promotion, that next step for you? And we realize that people may be in different situations here, and that's okay. Everything that we talk about today will be or should be relevant to your situation, and at least in terms of broad strokes. And again, this is where we'll do Q&A throughout if we need to answer anything specific as well. All right, so we'll give you a moment to complete this. And this also, I think, helps people understand and know and feel like they're not alone, that not everybody is perfectly clear about things, and this is a really good, important first step. All right. And one is really high, which is interesting. These are always interesting to me, and it helps kind of gauge where people are at. right, it looks like we've got kind of a good critical mass. Perfect. Thank you for sharing this with us. Exploring the options. This is really helpful. And so for the majority of the people out there exploring options, this is where you want to really leverage our model to see like, okay, are there other possible choices for me that I could be considering? Because inevitably there are jobs out there that we don't even know exist. So it's good. I love that people are in exploration mode so that you can see, okay, maybe I'd love to have A, but B or C could be great as well. The people that are clear on the role that they want next, that's awesome. Just again, make sure it checks the boxes and then you can move to the next steps quickly. And for those who haven't totally thought it through, that's okay. This is a great first step to be here today. This is the place that you want to start first and spend a little bit more time on. So basically, each of the steps we talk about, you're going to want to spend more or less time based on where you're at in terms of your situation. Now, we talked about the obstacles already a moment ago. And one of the first things that I'd like you to do and write down for me is to start to get a handle on or understand what you think might get in your way of making this happen. And it could be anything from this slide, or it could be something completely different. Unclear direction, we want to make sure we work on that first. Imposter syndrome, we have a whole presentation on this because there are so many people out there, including really successful people, who suffer from imposter syndrome, where they feel like, well, I don't deserve it, or I'm not ready, even when they do deserve it, or they actually are ready. So if you feel like you have any of these kind of negative inner voices going on that are preventing you from stretching or getting into the role or a role that you really are ready for, but you're a little bit nervous about, or for even asking for the promotion in the first place, these are things that you absolutely want to address up front. So please go ahead and write those down. Any fears or concerns, and then a third one, which we hear from people all the time, which I totally understand, is procrastination. We're not always like we want to keep our current job, obviously, and make sure that we're being effective and successful there. And these types of things can be things that are really easy to put off. So I want to put something in the chat box really quickly that we like as a good starting point for dealing with any of those internal obstacles like imposter syndrome or negative inner thinking. It's a book called Taming Your Gremlin, and you can get it on Amazon. It's a quick, easy read, which I love. I'm not a patient person. I like for people to get right to the point in books. And it's like, it's probably like $15 or something. So, bottom line, taming your gremlin can help with any of these fears, concerns, or negative inner thinking. Because at the end of the day, like we said earlier, you could have everything ready to go, but if you're not coming across as confident, or if you're holding yourself back, either by procrastinating or feeling like you're not quite ready when you actually are, that is going to make a huge difference, understandably, and whether you're successful in this next move and how quickly you make it happen. And honestly, like I feel like we should add a little informal poll in here, and I'll keep going, but if anyone is willing to share in the chat what you think some of your obstacles are, including whether they're internal or external, like I don't have the skill set yet or whatever, I would love to see some of those so that we can see kind of where people stand with that. So please go ahead and pop those in. That would be great. That is one of the first things we want you to address because it's going to drive everything else that we're talking about today, where you focus your time, how successful or effective you are in each of these areas. So let's start with we're going to start to talk about our 10 tips and go through obstacles and some other things as we discussed as well today, too. So even if you're not totally clear about your direction, and especially for those people that are, the first thing that we want you to do after you get clear on your direction or know what that is making sure that right now, today, go ahead and review and update your resume and your LinkedIn profile. Don't wait to do it later because what we find with our clients is that when they start to work on their materials, even though it takes time and it takes effort, It helps them get in touch with, again, what's cool about them, what they bring to the table, what their brand is. So even working on this boosts people's confidence. So, for example, when we write a client's resume for them, when they get it back, they're like, oh, wow, I really am cool. And they're reminded of this and they're reminded of those transferable skills and the things they bring to the table. So, we don't want you to wait on updating these elements until you're ready to have the conversation or you're conducting your job search. We want you to do it now because it's going to influence everything else and give you clarity on where you're qualified and where you may not be. And we want you to take a look at this next slide here for just a second. What have you accomplished in the past year, but even beyond that? And we want you to think about all of these elements plus more education, certifications, but also soft skills like have you been able to lead teams remotely or gotten better at change or crisis management if that's going to be relevant to the job you're going for, and also specific projects that you've worked on. So, reviewing and updating your resume in a formal way can help with this, and go ahead and do it with LinkedIn. Make sure that everything's up to date with all of your accomplishments and anything specific to the promotion, the job you're going for. So remember too that whenever you're updating your materials and preparing your conversation and preparing for the meeting, you really only want to talk about things that are going to be relevant, just like you would with a job search. If you start to talk about other things that aren't relevant, you're not painting that picture in a clear way. You kind of get it going off track. So make sure that that's going to be that's part of your process. Personalizing the resume and LinkedIn for the position that you want. And remember at the bottom left-hand side here, you can leverage AI to get ideas with this. What's going to be important for this job? What are some of the leadership strengths I need to demonstrate, etc. But remember, as we tell all of our clients, number one, you don't want to use AI to write things for you. Employers, recruiters, etc., they can tell and they don't like it. It sounds like a robot. And also, it's not always going to be accurate. I was using AI the other day, and one of the stats it pulled up, I looked deeper into it, and it was like old. So it's a great tool. I'm not against it. Use it wisely. And we had one person share, and thank you for sharing this and being open about it, that imposter syndrome related to age is big for you. I also question whether I made a good decision on my recent degree. Totally understand that. So, with our negative thinking and our gremlins, and I'll bring up the next slide so we can start to look at this, there's going to be those internal negative voices that aren't going to help us, and we need to kind of push past and get over. And then there's external actual obstacles that we need to address, like what can I do with the degree I just obtained? Can it show me that I've got these transferable skills or something else? So those tangible things you want to do about those things too. One of the second things we would recommend to help you get clear on the type of promotion, but also prepare, is we like for our clients throughout their career. So, starting today for the rest of your career, in addition to your resume, you've got an accomplishments document where you always keep it up to date. You've got measurable results. You keep a track of or copy and paste those testimonials, kudos, all those other things from clients that you may not have on your resume per se, but you want to keep track of those things because you can use them in your presentation asking for the promotion or the job search. And you want to identify those top ones that are going to be relevant that you want to reference either in resume or otherwise. And as we are thinking about and kind of talking about AI, and then let's go ahead and launch our second poll for today, that would be great, is AI can also help you refine your language a little bit about how you speak about your achievements to direct it to the promotion and the job that you want. What's going to be most important, and how can you make it sound a little bit better? Whenever you have AI write something for you, either use it to give you ideas about certain keywords or have it write something for you, but then you copy and paste it and you put it in your own words and kind of humanize it, if you will. So I am really curious how many people actually track their accomplishments in this way versus just keeping their resume up to date. And we do want people to keep their resume up to date too, but we also want people to have these other things here so that they don't forget them, the numbers, the statistics, these specific projects, etc. And if you do rely on your memory and you remember them, awesome. I'll tell you as you get older, good idea to write them down because I'm getting worse at remembering things, understandably. And it looks like too, so far, we've got a few people that keep an ongoing list, which is awesome. We had a client once who would keep like a props folder in her email. So it was an email folder where she would put things, positive things that people had said about her projects, etc. Okay, so let's take a look at our results. So we've got neck and neck, the updating resume. That's great. Like keeping it up to date, like quarterly or, every 6 months, give or take. Ongoing lists, that's awesome. The people that rely on their memory, if you want to consider starting to write some things down, like an easy way to do this is just to have like a Word doc or something on your desktop, something that's easy for you to access and keep track of. One of the other things that you can think about too is look at past performance reviews to identify what those themes are and what those strengths are that you've had and pull some comments out of that to help you prepare for your ask as well. So let's talk about tip number 3. And this is mostly, obviously, if you're looking for a promotion where you are. But what I would say is whether you do this for yourself or it's for yourself and with your supervisor, regardless, we need a plan. So from updating your materials, and also getting a sense of the types of promotions and jobs that you want to be going for. Identify the qualifications that you already have on the left-hand side of a piece of paper, and on the right-hand side, what are those gaps? So remember, we talked earlier about what are their possible red flags and what can you either do about those things in the meantime to create that list of gaps in experience, etc. But what can you do about that? Whether it's taking a class, it's volunteering for a different project, it's trying something new. In some cases, you might decide that you want to do some volunteer work outside of work to demonstrate leadership skills. Or, for example, one of our clients, as part of her preparing to get that next promotion, she joined Toastmasters and goes to that all the time now. It helps and has helped build her confidence and her communication skills. So, as part of this, if you are having a conversation with your current supervisor, let's say, identifying and asking for projects to help you fill those gaps. So, getting ideas from other people, but also coming up with your own ideas. You want to make sure that as part of your plan, you are tracking your progress towards your goals. I don't know about you, but I'm great at writing a plan and then I don't always look back at it. So you need to make sure that you've got like an Excel document or whatever makes the most sense for you to say, this is my promotion planning document, right? To what do I need to do? What are the steps that I need to take, etc. You can leverage AI here as well to help you come up with what would be a good professional development plan for someone who's in my current position looking to get into this one. That can give you some bones and some structure to get started. But then, like we said, we want you to make adjustments to it based on personalizing it for your situation. And let's do we kind of front loaded our polls today. I'm realizing we're going to do our third poll for today, and then we're going to leave you be. But I do want to hear things and questions in the chat, please. But have you had this type of conversation with your manager if this is applicable to you in your situation? Or it could be that you're conducting a job search. And one of the things that I did want to say related to this conversation is we've had clients before just assume that their manager knew that they wanted a promotion and they never actually talked about it or brought it up. And that's a mistake, we feel like. We want you to make sure that you're clear about your ambitions and your next steps with your supervisor, so that they know, okay, that this is, I need to be looking out for this person, ABC. Some managers are going to do that for you, but those are the really good ones. And that's not always the case. A lot of managers and supervisors, understandably, they're really busy. So they're not always going to have or take the time to help kind of move you in that direction. So, bottom line, we want you to be your own best advocate. So, we've got some people, love it, who have discussed this and have a plan. That's great. Touched on it informally, I think is really good. That's a step in the right direction. What I would do here is I would start to formalize it with them more. Let's have a quick conversation about this and what can be the plan to make this happen with a time frame, with specific action items, etc. And if you haven't yet, and it doesn't make sense to do so quite yet, that's totally fine. If you need to get clarity first, that's okay. But please make sure that regardless, everyone on the call is clear, open, specific about this with the right person on your team or within your organization, and you create a plan together so that you both are kind of tracking your progress in that way. A question that came through: how do you bring it up if your plan is to leave your current organization? Yes, so I wouldn't bring it up directly like this and obviously be saying leaving current organization. What I would be talking about, so there's two ways to approach this depending on you and your relationship with your boss, etc. One way is just to completely keep it to yourself, create a plan on your own, and implement that plan kind of on your own within your organization by volunteering for projects, asking to be able to work on these other things, as long as you don't aren't concerned that that's going to raise any red flags. Maybe you take a class, etc., but you don't share that. Another way to do it is to talk about professional development where you are and ask for advice, etc. But you're obviously not talking about it as your goal is to leave long term. So kind of depends on the situation. You may want to split the difference a little bit and get advice from them, but just position it as I want to grow as a professional in general. Now, tip number 4, which relates to this, so thanks for that question, is once you've got those gaps, and what you've maybe done, for example, is you've looked at different job descriptions of the types of jobs that you want to go for, and you get a sense of kind of what those qualifications are and those criteria, is you then want to include whether it's coursework, whether it's freelance work, whether it's trying to pivot a little bit within your organization or get your feet wet doing something else there. You need to include this in your promotion document. But also, we say at the top here, we always want people to include this in their annual kind of career plan as well. So there's lots of different ways. If we start, let's start with the middle column here, that you can work on this, whether it's taking an online class through LinkedIn Learning. We also like Coursera. But you also could take a look at your industry specific association and see if they offer any courses or certifications or have any recommendations for certain things. Because a lot of times, if it's industry specific from or through that association or recommended, it's going to be even more tailored to the industry that you're in, which can be great. On the right-hand side, some of the things that you can be looking at is researching and looking at the LinkedIn profiles of people who are in the positions already that you're looking for. You can ask your boss or HR for ideas, again, if it's applicable to do so. And you can use AI to research trending certifications, online courses, etc. On LinkedIn now, there is a whole like section or tool, if you will, called LinkedIn Career Navigator that can help with everything that we're talking about today to kind of track your progress, see where you are, the things that you need to enhance in terms of your skill set. So I would recommend checking that out as well. And on the left-hand side, last but absolutely not least, is in order to demonstrate that we are staying on top of the market, what's going on with AI, and how it's influencing and impacting our roles and what we need to know about it and how to leverage it and when not to in your next position. Is this is a great book, Open to Work. You can get it on Amazon. But this can help you understand, where do I use AI? How do I navigate this world of AI in order to get ahead in my career? And you need to at least be knowledgeable about this so that you can either speak to it when you're thinking about it, and how to leverage it in your next steps. And you know how to leverage it kind of over time as well. And a question that came through, I honestly don't know if Career Navigator is only with premium. It could be. I thought they gave you like maybe a basic version of it, along with regular LinkedIn, for lack of a better way to say it. But that's a good question. I would maybe AI or kind of Google it and see. It's possible that they have put that just for premium. Now, Here's what I'll say, just because if it were me, I would want to ask this question. I don't think that purchasing premium just to use Career Navigator is worth it because I think you can get those same types of things in other places. But for job search purposes, if you are looking for a position at another organization and job searching, hands down, you need premium for sure. So hopefully that helps a little bit too. Tip number 5 is to take initiative and take initiative now. So even if you're not totally clear that you want the promotion or you know what that is, we want you to demonstrate right away by actually doing these things and not just saying them that you are ready for that next level. So that at least, if nothing else, you're going to have options. So you're ready for that leadership role, etc. So some examples here would be working on tasks that you haven't been asked to, offering solutions to problems and suggesting improvements, like bringing things up that you think need to be adjusted and changed over time in your organization. You can ask AI to get ideas on certain things so that when you go to your supervisor or whomever the right person is, you've got some recommendations for improvements. So, doing things where you're putting yourself out there more and you're being more seen within your organization and within your industry can help you move up to that next level. The second thing to do is to observe key players within your organization. And what are the things that they do on a regular basis? What are their soft skills, but also their tangible skills as well? And are those some of the things that you need to start working on for you and start kind of leveraging and using and demonstrating you have those strengths within your current position? And there's two kind of listed in the bottom here, and one of them is kind of a funny one, but I actually think is valuable and helpful. It's something my mom always said is to dress for the job that you want. And it kind of, what I mean by that is literally, yes, in some cases, our wardrobe can impact our confidence, absolutely. But what we're doing here is we're asking you to step into the mindset, push aside those gremlins, negative thinking, anything else, and step into the mindset that you are ready for and deserve the promotion because it impacts our attitude, impacts how we act and how we behave. So this isn't just about literally dressing wardrobe wise for the job that you want, but acting as if you already have it and are ready for it. And another item at the bottom here, this building your brand on LinkedIn is also kind of piggybacking on what we said earlier, where you're trying to become more visible within your organization, but within your industry as well. So perhaps you attend more industry association meetings. Maybe you volunteer to serve on the board of that industry association or, do something like that. The more involved you get with your industry and demonstrate your leadership strengths and have people know, kind of let them know that you're out there and you're being more visible, the faster you will get that next promotion and the ones afterwards as well. Let's take a look at these key phrases that we want you to make sure that you're starting to use with your supervisor as well to demonstrate you're ready for that promotion. And then we'll answer this next question that just came through here. So, some key phrases that will help position you for that next step and level are things where you're inviting and being open to feedback, which we're going to talk a little bit more about in the next couple of slides. But it's proposing things like we can do these two things, but I'm making this suggestion for this reason. You're being proactive, you're giving your opinion, you're speaking up. Things like we can do things this way, but I want to make sure that I'm pointing out these possible problems or challenges, demonstrating your ability to think strategically, asking for help for prioritizing things if needed, being positive about soliciting, but also accepting and open to feedback demonstrates your leadership skills as well. And with your supervisor too, is there a way I can make it easier to give you input or connect with you or let you know how things are going? So starting to talk about how you do your work, not just actually doing the work, and opening up those lines of communication a little bit more starts to demonstrate that you're able to think more strategically about how the team dynamics work, how the dynamics work with your supervisor, etc. So follow up on tip number 5 if you work remotely. So what I would do, and let me just go back to, oh, the taking initiative. Okay, let me know if this answers. So with if you work remotely, what I like for people to do to demonstrate that they're ready for that next level, but if they don't have the context of working in person. So, for example, your boss or your team members don't see you all the time, et cetera, is you want to be as like a little bit more visible and as visible as possible. So, number one, I would set up a virtual on video or on camera meeting and if it's possible to fly in or drive in and do something in person, I would actually do that when you can. If that's too hard to do something on camera and have a meeting about these are the things I'd like to take on or I'd like to do next. So formalize it by having a more formal conversation. And then outside of it, along the way, make sure that you're like checking in and that you're like attending meetings, even if you don't have to attend some of those meetings, that you're demonstrating that you're there and visible. When the context is missing because you're working remotely, you need to create that context. So, in another sense, too, in some cases, you may need to over communicate with people a little bit, excuse me, about what you're doing more so than you would if you were in the office. So, providing that context and a little bit of over communicating can make a big difference, too. So let's talk next about tip number 6. And this kind of piggybacks on what we said a moment ago about having the right attitude that you're ready for this next step. So start to make sure that you're paying attention to your body language, the verbal cues you use in conversation where you may be downplaying some of your successes, making sure that you're speaking to your strengths and your skill set in a confident way. So bottom line, you're promoting yourself in a little bit more than you normally do and speaking up in meetings versus maybe staying in the background, etc. So if you need to work on these gremlins or these negative inner voices, and I'm using the term from the Taming Your Gremlins book that we put in the chat box already, if there's affirmations you need to develop, if you need to start sitting up straighter in meetings where you tend to get nervous and you might hang back a little bit more, let's pay attention to those things. Speak more confidently, pay attention to your volume and your tone, and avoid using minimizing language like I think, well, or I'm not sure, etc. Paying attention to those things that you're saying on a regular basis as well, because those can kind of prevent you from coming across as being ready for that next promotion, right? One of the things that a lot of our clients like to use to help them with these tools that they can get ideas from other people, but get that accountability and that help as well is our coaching group. People love this because they're able to ask questions of one of our coaches online anytime they want to. And then there's also 2 live group calls that you can talk about, okay, I'm about to go into this my, meeting to talk about my promotion or I'm creating my plan. What are some of the things that I need to, keep track of and make sure are there? Feel free to ask me any questions that you have about that. There's information in the chat box as well. So, tip number 7, we've kind of already touched on this a little bit, but I want to formalize it a little bit more. And when I say be a leader now or demonstrate your leadership skills now, what I mean is don't wait until you actually have the job, like behave as if you already have it now to a certain extent, right? And when we talk about being a leader, think of it not just as whether you're managing other people or not, but it's more about how are you a leader in your role and within your organization. So demonstrate that you have an ability to motivate other people, help them through change or difficult time or whatever it is. Take a more active leadership role in meetings or within your team as appropriate. Demonstrate that you're able to handle tough situations and challenges and speak up and reference that this happened and, I was able to do XYZ and I think it turned out well. I'm open to any feedback. And another book that we like for not just leadership strengths, but demonstrating that you're able to work well within a team is emotional intelligence. There's a couple of books out there about emotional intelligence, and this is something that's really, really important when you are trying to move up to the next level in an organization. They want to know, do you have the communication skills? Do you have the ability not just to work with others, but be like a positive leader within your team, etc. You do need to know the nuts and bolts, how to use the software, all of that other stuff that's important for that promotion, absolutely. But these soft skills are going to be the things that help kind of push you over the edge into that new position. This is another tool that we find really helpful with our clients to help you start to identify where your leadership skills are and where are certain areas that you may need to do a little bit of work and some improvement, and demonstrating that you're able to leverage these different leadership strengths. This is from Development Dimensions International. And here's what we like is to rate yourself in each area, but then take the extra step of having someone else rate you. Because sometimes we discount what comes naturally to us and having someone else tell us, no, you're actually really good at this, and not everyone is. Or they're validating or pointing something else out that is seeing a leadership strength in a different way than you had seen it before. I would use this when you're ranking yourself, but with other people as well, to identify your top three strengths. Remember, they need to be relevant to the job or the promotion that you're going for. And also identify three challenges, areas that you need to improve. And this also goes in your plan. Okay, where do I need to fill in these gaps and how can I do that? Again, you can leverage AI to help you identify some of those necessary, really important top strengths for the roles that you're going for. And remember, we talked about those red flags. We want you to think about those as well. So, what concerns might they have about my candidacy for this promotion? And I'm going to weave those things in to my pitch and my responses to any questions they have so that they can't even almost come up with those kind of concerns in the first place. Tip number 8, as part of being a leader, is to start to do a better job of requesting constructive feedback. How is this going? Am I doing in this area? Are there areas you feel I need to improve? What's working? What's not working? So making sure that you're not just okay with and good at receiving the feedback. The incorrect response is on the left, and the correct, obviously, is on the right-hand side. But that you're soliciting feedback as well on a more regular basis. This demonstrates leadership strengths, confidence, but it also will help you understand where you need to maybe make some adjustments over time too. Now, before we start to get to our Q&A and our last couple of slides, I know there's a lot here. Remember, we said pick one or two things that makes the most sense for you based on where you are with asking for a promotion. If you feel like you need more help with any of this, we're happy to help you. That's why we're here. We love what we do. You can set up a free consult with me to find out if it's the right thing for you at this point in time. We do offer a discount for Tulane alum. The code is there. I'm going to put all of this in the chat box as well. Do me a favor, and if you set up a consult with me, please make sure you remind me and let me know that you came from Tulane. If you want to use the coupon code, you can just grab that and you can use it to sign up for anything on our website. So, tip number 9, and we find this can be incredibly helpful, is to get someone to help you with preparing for your search, your conversation about your promotion, get their help with creating your plan, all of that other good stuff. A mentor who's long term with your career path, in addition to, like, we kind of serve as mentors for our clients, but we prefer for our clients to work with us and then also have a mentor within their industry or within their organization as well. They can give you great advice on qualities that you need to be developing, skills to be working on. That insider knowledge for within your organization can be a really big deal to be talking with people about who work at your current organization or within your industry. And also, they can give you a great opinion on your career progress too. So I think we have, Nina, do we have this last poll? I think we put it in our thing, but see, I said before I had to,
I actually don't think that we
yeah,
do. I think I
I
only
think we
have the
missed this one on our
3.
end.
Yeah, but
So
I can
people can
create it
put it in
right
the chat.
now. Okay, people can put in the chat. Cool.
Yeah, let's just put it in the chat so we've got enough time for Q&A.
Cool.
Um, give us some yes or no's about mentor. And Nina's going to send some of this information in the follow-up email as well. But bottom line, get objective feedback on how you're coming across with your ask and your promotion conversation. Am I on track with the things I need to be thinking about and working on? Coursework, everything else. Please don't feel like you have to be alone in this because having that objective advice and opinion can be incredibly helpful along the way. And I'll answer the questions that are starting to come through too. Thank you for those. So we've talked a lot about prep today. Let's talk for a second about conducting the meeting and having that conversation. We could talk for hours on this topic, understandably, because there's a lot to consider. But what I would say is, as you've gone through your preparation already with updating your resume, reviewing your accomplishments, et cetera, you also want to do your salary research so that you're asking for the right compensation or the range of compensation that makes sense for your market, your location, your industry. Again, you can use AI a little bit to help you with this research and help you with ideas. With your meeting on the bottom left-hand side, I would be prepared to almost present your case. And it's kind of like a sales pitch, and you're giving at least a little bit of a presentation. This is why I'm asking. You can have like a quick slide deck of a couple of slides, but this is why I'm asking. This is why I know I'm ready, etc. And then as part of that conversation, you want to make sure that you ask for the promotion. So this is what I'm asking for. Is this reasonable? What would be the next steps? When can we talk about this again? Don't let things be dangly at the end. So if it can't be immediate for whatever reason, when can we discuss it again? And what's the probability? Like, I would want to find out if for any reason at my organization, they're thinking, I don't think it's a possibility. So please be really direct and open about what those next steps would be so that you're holding their feet to the fire and yours as well. Um, and then let's pull up our last slide and answer questions. And this is when we would love for you to please write down your action steps and also share those in the chat box. So we've got a couple of don't currently have a mentor. Maybe I had some sporadic short conversations with academic mentors. So this is something that is a good idea to work on over time for your career. It can take a minute. It could be someone who's a Tulane alum that's within your industry. It could be someone who's local to you within your industry that you meet at an association meeting. So it's good. And a couple of people someone said, I have someone I can bounce ideas off of. That's fantastic. That's a form of it. I like for you to be able to have someone that you can meet with on a more regular basis, but it doesn't always have to be that formal. And a couple of people are sharing brag book, etc., with some action steps. So a question that came through a little bit further up, executive search in this area of job search. If you are in an executive level role, executive search firms can be great, like Korn Ferry, Robert Half, etc. What I would be doing is I would be identifying people that are local geographically to my area and even more so work within my industry and trying to connect with them. It's okay if you find people that aren't local but still conduct searches within your area. But there's something that I really like about like someone as maybe one step smaller firm who is more local to my area that can help me with my search. The big behemoths can be great, but sometimes it's hard to get their attention. Um, oh, great. Yeah, someone's sharing about the brag book. Great advice. And thank you for the kudos about wish you'd known this 8 years ago. Believe me, I didn't know all of it either. I had to work on it too. Um, how do we search for valid firms is another question. Um, I'm not sure exactly what you mean by valid. I think it would be firms that you would be interested in and might want to apply to. So I would be looking for like a couple of ways to go about this would be top places to work in X industry within your area. I would be looking on job boards to see who's hiring and what job openings are out there as well. You can also search for on LinkedIn for organizations local to your area too, within your industry. And you can also find people that are hiring on LinkedIn for your specific industry as well. Oh, okay. Thank you for clarifying that because the answer I gave you was not the right one. Search firms that are on the level and not just people that will send me listings. Yeah, I would be finding people on LinkedIn who are more active on LinkedIn. They network a little bit more. Those are going to be recruiters that are a little bit more active with their clients. I would also ask for recommendations, though, from friends, family members, people that you know within your industry. And this is where I think industry specific networking can be helpful because sometimes they'll have good recommendations too. So that's how I would. And honestly, now that I'm saying it out loud as well, you could also look for reviews on recruiters that you're looking at too, whether it's Yelp reviews or Google reviews too. Yeah, you're welcome, no problem. And I'm glad you clarified because, like I said, I was saying totally something totally different. So, Nina, as we wait for any other questions or comments to come in, please go ahead and put your action steps in there, everybody. We'd like to see those. But Nina, are there any announcements that you need to make or say in the meantime while we're giving people a couple more moments?
Before I'm gonna drop our job board, the link in the chat, and I'll do that in 1 second. But I got a question sent directly to me that I just want to share. I got two. I got, how can I approach someone about being my mentor?
Oh, great one. And I'm going to answer this, and I'm putting my email address in the chat box if people have more questions later, etc. So, yeah, because it might feel like, okay, what do I, how do I do this? So, one, in some cases, through your industry, through like your organization, sometimes places and organizations have formal mentorship programs. So, I would always just check that out. Even just like locally, like a business association might have something like that, or even your chamber of commerce. But in addition to or after you do that, I would be looking for people who are a little bit more active on LinkedIn. Maybe they belong to your industry specific association. I would be going to that meeting and those meetings because that's where you might be able to find someone who's a good mentor. You could also look for Tulane alum, like overlay that with that possible warm connection and get to know them a little bit. But I would be upfront and say, one of the things that I'm seeking for my professional development is someone who could be even just an informal mentor for me. And depending on like, I'd love to talk with you about that if you're open to it, or if you have any other ideas or suggestions, I'd love to hear those as well. So you're asking them, but you're not totally putting them on the spot by, saying there could be other recommendations. So I would be saying something like that. And ideally, it would be someone that you already know or have some kind of relationship with that it would make it a little bit easier to kind of grease the wheels.
Awesome. Okay, and then the other question is about the scheduling a consult. What does it look like if we do that?
So the consult is to learn more about our services. I spend 20 minutes, give or take. I want to hear more about what your situation is, what your goals are, how clear you are on those, what your obstacles are. I'll give you some advice on how to deal with some of those things to kind of get things started. And then we talk about what I would suggest in terms of working with us might be the best fit for you in terms of options, services, etc. And with Tulane alum, pricing wise, we're happy to do sliding scale rates. So that's part of it as we kind of talk about, okay, what would be the right budget for you? And how often do you want the coaching services? Like, is it twice a month, et cetera, based on your goals? And we work through that together.
Awesome. Okay, cool. And then I don't have any more questions that were sent directly to me. So if you have any more, you can send to me or put in the chat. But I just shared in the chat Career Shift, which is a free job board that is available to all alumni for free. It pulls in jobs from LinkedIn, from Indeed, from company websites all into one place, and it aggregates like the different people at these companies, so you can kind of sift through them based on Tulane alumni, if you went to another university for grad school, or if you did Tulane for grad school, like same thing, different companies. So you can kind of find people through that to contact and stuff when you're kind of looking for jobs, if that is something that you're trying to do. So I shared that link in the chat, and yeah, just make sure that you visit that as well. And I can also share that in my follow-up email when I share everything that Hallie has mentioned throughout this wonderful session.
Cool. Thank you. And remind me, Nina, is there a LinkedIn alumni group or
There is, I think, there's a page, Tulane Alumni, and I think that's a place to follow to kind of keep up with like news and stuff.
okay.
I believe there are some like informal groups that you can join, and I can look for those and put them in the group because there's kind of different ones based on school, different ones based on like, are you an all alum, different stuff like that. So, yeah.
So this would be something not to create more work for you, Nina, but for everybody to be like, if it were me, and let's say I was looking for networking purposes, but also for a possible mentor, I would be trying to sift through like Tulane alum and just to say, could I have a quick conversation with you? That type of thing.
Yeah.
Um, because they're going to be more likely to get back to you, and the industry specific or school specific helps kind of narrow that pool a little bit more.
There is a LinkedIn alumni tool, and I think I have like a little thing I can share in the chat. I just have to place where I have it.
Yeah.
That helps. It like has a full list of anybody that said that they went to Tulane for people to reach out to. So I'm gonna share my little blurb on that in here. Give me one sec. But when you use the career shift tool, it will show you people that like specifically work at the company and stuff like that. But let me just make sure this is right.
And I just separately Googled um, Career Navigator, and it's not in the free,
It's the
but
premium.
it's premium. But you remember with LinkedIn, they have different levels. So you can buy this, or this. The one that it's saying is for job seekers, and it's like $30 a month.
Cool.
So you could use it for like a month, get the ideas out of it, and then turn it off.
Yeah. A great idea. We love budgeting.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay,
Cool.
well, we are at the hour. We're at one. So, Hallie, do you want to just kind of close us out with some last, advice or anything like that?
Baby steps, take it one at a time, and attitude is critical, right? So just remember going in to each day with a positive attitude, thinking like a leader is going to hugely influence your action steps. So make sure you do that.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much, Hallie. This was so informative and so awesome. I love sitting in on your sessions and getting to learn so much. But this session was recorded and will be uploaded to our YouTube, so you can all find everything there. And I will be in your inbox with all the info that Hallie mentioned. And thank you so much for joining. And thank you, Hallie, for a great session.
Thanks.
All
Good luck,
right.
everybody.
Have a good one. Bye, everyone.